Russian President Vladimir Putin says the world is facing its most important decade since the end of World War II.
Fighting rages on near Bakhmut as drone attacks in Ukraine have damaged the country's electricity supply.
Tensions are high at the Serbia-Kosovo border as the deadline approaches for Serbs living in Kosovo to change their license plates.
Russian President Vladimir Putin claims the West is seeking global domination. He made his comment in a long speech to a conference of international experts, politicians, diplomats and economists from 41 countries, and outlined his vision of the world against the backdrop of the war in Ukraine. Now the historical period of undivided dominance of the West in world affairs is coming to an end. The unipolar world is becoming a thing of the past. We are at an historical turning point. Ahead, there is probably the most dangerous, unpredictable and at the same time important decade since the end of World War II. Putin accused the US and its allies of playing dirty. What we see now is the destruction of pan-European gas pipelines. This is absolutely horrendous. But nevertheless, we are witnessing these sad events. The power over the world is exactly what this so-called West has staked in their game. But this game is certainly dangerous, bloody, and, I would say, dirty. In a tweet, the Ukrainian presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolyak describes Putin's speech as Freudian, saying Putin accuses others of wrongdoing, but that the Russian president was right about who started a wind will get a storm. In Washington, D.C., U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin called Russia an acute and pointed threat. However, he says the real threat is actually another country.
At the same time, the NDS bluntly describes Russia as an acute threat. And we chose the word acute carefully. Unlike China, Russia can't systemically challenge the United States over the long term.
Concerned about a possible escalation with Russia, he stated that the international community's response would be significant if Moscow launches a nuclear attack.
Fighting rages on near the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut in the Donetsk region, which has seen heavier bombardment by Russian forces recently. And Ukraine continues to move closer and closer to Kherson in the south, which has been under Russian control for months. As it loses ground, Moscow has intensified its artillery and drone attacks.
More than 30 drones were released by Russia in 2 days. The defenders of our sky prevented the enemy's vultures from breaking into the countryside and downed 23 Iranian-made drones. In addition, the Kh-59 guided air missiles, 2 Ka-52 attack helicopters and another Su-25 attack aircraft were turned into scrap metal. In total, during this period, Russia carried out 4,500 missile strikes and more than 8,000 air raids. But we are fighting, and we will knock down more.
Drones have managed to severely damage the country's electricity supply just weeks before winter. Kyiv has continued to ask for help from its allies and has also received money from fundraising that is used to buy military equipment, such as this demining system, which can withstand detonation from anti-tank mines.
A sculpture of a Red Army soldier crumbles to the ground. Poland dismantled 4 more communist-era monuments on Thursday. They were built to commemorate Russians who died fighting Nazi Germany. But especially in the context of the war in Ukraine, they're no longer welcome. It's the symbol of a system which, after 1945, turned half of Europe into its vassals, including our country, Poland, said the president of the Institute of National Remembrance. A system that continued to murder Polish heroes in its secret service torture chambers, in the forests, in the streets. Poland has gradually been removing symbols of Moscow's past domination since it shed communist rule in 1989. Russian law considers it an offence to remove any Soviet army monuments, even when they're in foreign countries.
Tensions are high at the Serbia-Kosovo border before the deadline of the Pristina authorities expires. The Kosovo government says ethnic Serbs who have car plates issued by Serbia must change them for Kosovo license plates before the start of November. The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, who is in Pristina as part of her Western Balkans tour, says Kosovo's request is legitimate.
It's paramount that rules have to be followed. There are clear rules and laws, and they have to be followed in any country. And at the same time, if there's a transition period, the transition has to be smooth, it has to be inclusive.
Kosovo gained independence from Serbia in 2008, but ethnic Serbs living in the northern part don't always obey the rules of the Pristina government. A Franco-German plan recently appeared in order to help relations between the two. The Serbian president, however, says some elements of the plan are unacceptable.
We are ready to continue talks, but there are things that we cannot accept, and in our response, we informed the highest representatives. I will not go into details, but we informed representatives of France and Germany and the United States of America.
Euronews' Serbia correspondent in Kosovo says that if the Pristina government does not extend the deadline for registration of their license plates, local Serbs might block the border crossings.
If a decision is not made here in the building of the government of Kosovo on the re-registration of vehicles from Serbian to Kosovo plates, even after November 1st, it's possible there will be a complete blockade of the roads and the complete closure of all crossings and all approaches from the north to the south of Kosovo.
An election recount in Bosnia and Herzegovina has confirmed Milorad Dodik's victory over his challenger, who accused him of vote rigging. Dodik, a Bosnian Serb hardliner, said he hoped the election saga was over. The Central Election Commission said the repeated count revealed many irregularities, but that none were on a level that would have changed the outcome of the vote.
Protests in Iran continue 42 days after the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who died while in custody of the country's morality police. Hundreds of young people have taken to the streets of Mahabab in the Kurdish region of western Iran, where a Kurdish man was killed by security forces on Wednesday. The UN has called for an independent investigation into the death of Amini and other recent human rights violations in Iran.
We have received a number of reports about several other girls and women, and in fact children who have been killed by the state authorities. We have a figure of at least 27 children who have been killed by the state authorities since these protests started. And the overall figure is a minimum of 250 people who have been killed by the state since the wave of these protests started on the 16th of September.
Authorities in Mahabab have blamed the continuing protests on terrorist separatist groups. And Tehran has attempted to link the growing movement to an unrelated attack on a mosque that has left 15 people dead and up to 30 injured.
Fela Kuti, the Nigerian singer and saxophonist who died in 1997, is being honoured at the Philharmonie de Paris. He left his mark on the history of music by creating a new musical movement at the end of the 1960s, Afrobeat, which combined jazz and Yoruba music. The exhibition traces the musical and political career of Fela Kuti, nicknamed the Black President. There are many photos and videos to see, especially of the thousands of concerts he gave in Nigeria and around the world. Following the mashed potato incident on the 23rd of October at the Museum Barberini, in which Claude Monet's painting Grain Stacks was splattered, the Potsdam's Museum in Germany reopens to the public this Sunday for an exhibition devoted to the links between magic and surrealism. The renewed interest in surrealism is explained by the ubiquity of the supernatural, the strange and the fantastic in contemporary culture. On the 18th of October, the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao celebrated its 25th anniversary. The museum was designed by one of the greatest contemporary architects, Frank Gehry. Its opening in 1997 revitalised a city and a region, giving the Basque Country a museum of international dimension, where visitors flock from all over the world. For this event, 3 exhibitions are devoted to the museum's collections, rich in thousands of treasures, to be discovered until January 2023.